Three girls doing a fit check before dragging you into an abandoned hospital sounds like the setup for either the best or worst night of your life. My name is Graeldon, I'm on an impossible journey to review every Steam game in alphabetical order, and today we're playing 108 Silly Ways to Die. Let's begin. You know what? I was wondering if we'd get to feature an FMV game before the 100th Steam Sequence episode, and wouldn't you know it, we did it. There's like 5 of you celebrating right now, a decent portion that are just here for the ride, and a handful of younglings that don't even know what an FMV game is. In the simplest terms, it's an interactive movie, but nobody that actually knows how to act was available, so they found 3 attractive women and a handful of extras and just gave it their best shot. Well, I say they don't know how to act because that's just my perception, but there is a non-zero chance that they're actually great actors doing a bad job on purpose because they're going for a B-movie look and feel. No, not B-movie. B-movie. Like, it had a small budget and all the actors are amateurs. Honestly, if there was a C-movie category, it might be eligible, but that doesn't exist. Fun fact though, if you Google what is a C movie, the 2016 Assassin's Creed movie comes up, which is, you know, fair. It did get 18% on Rotten Tomatoes. Anyway, the point is that 108 is self-described as horror-tinged comedic performance, so it's not exactly trying to be particularly serious, it just wants you, the player, to have a fun time and a few laughs as you explore an abandoned, zombie-filled hospital with beautiful women. Released on the 12th of February 2025, developed by Seed Studio and published by Liquid Meow, it costs $16 dues and 25 cents, and it currently sits at a mostly positive rating with 113 reviews. So maybe it's not terrible? Well, before we get into the game, I'd just like to point out that the recordings, which read the app name to organize the files, thinks that the game is called Russian Underground VR, so my hopes aren't too high. The main menu features a 5-second looping video of a dark hallway, and instead of a credits section, we have acknowledgements, so my faith in the translated subtitles is already pretty low, but we'll see later how well they manage to limbo under that bar. Despite changing the language to English, the acknowledgements, are entirely in Chinese. The game settings are fairly limited, it's not exactly like you can change the quality of the graphics, but I'm amused by the option to turn subtitles off considering that there's no English voice acting. I know it's for the Chinese players, but maybe hide this option when the language is set to English. Keyboard controls are rebindable, we have separate sound sliders, and you can change the window mode to full screen with a capital S for reasons. Going into chapter selection shows that there are 4 chapters, but of course this is a lie because you don't play through these in order. Instead, you have 2 chapters, a prologue that introduces the characters, and then 3 different stories depending on which girl you pick. But I can already hear you saying I'm nitpicking, so let's get into the game. We begin in a hospital. Shakily looking around with a flashlight, we look over a corpse and are surprised by the shoes it's wearing. Our companion tells us that we are afraid, to which we retort that we're just excited. And then I love the little "and so forth" that appears for just a moment. Did they mean excited or something? Or was this a conversation prompt left in the subtitles by accident? We'll never know. There are plenty more moments like this, where something in the subtitles is lost in translation, but you can generally understand the conversation and follow the plot. We reveal the corpse to actually be a dummy, then bump into a zombie and run away, only to wake up and realize it was all a dream. So anyway, who should we go on a date with? Hopefully I wasn't the only one that got whiplash from that. This serves as a basic introduction to each of the 3 women you can ask out on a date. You've got the serious one, the sporty one, and the cosplay one. I go with the serious one because at this point I've got basically no context other than these first impressions. I do decide to stick with her later on for, reasons that I don't want to disclose, but from what I can tell, she's definitely the most closely tied to the plot as well. We meet up at a cafe, answer a few questions, successfully I might add, and then we're invited to go urban exploring with her. Because that's the latest fad and a convenient excuse to get us to go to a secluded location in the middle of the night. If I come back from this with both my kidneys intact, I'll be pretty surprised. Things get even more suspicious the moment that all 3 potential date choices turn up at the meeting place. Oh yeah, we're totally getting mugged. And then we take a turn towards uncomfortable territory by having to comment on the outfits that each of them are wearing, and I'm saddened by the lack of a choice that says, "We're exploring an abandoned building. Do you think looking sexy is important? Are you an idiot?" On that note, a recurring theme you'll spot is, well, I was going to say weirdly sexual undertones, but it's not undertones, it's just overtly sexual. Like, the director dreamed up these scenarios to fabricate excuses for wildly inappropriate intimate moments to appeal to their fetishes. For example, we decide to hide from a zombie by climbing under a blanket together, which we then decide is the perfect opportunity to go for a kiss. Or this moment where we decide we need to use her stockings to reduce the intensity of our flashlight, so we're forced to watch a scene where they try to make it as sexy as possible for the foot fetish people. Or this one that plays during the prologue if you don't agree to a date straight away. Actually, that one can stay. So, now we have to choose the person to follow to the hospital, and it would be rude not to follow the person who invited us here in the first place. So, off we go. Oh, and we finally learn their names, but because I would butcher their pronunciation and the game loves stereotypes anyway, we're sticking with Sporty, Bossy, and Spicy. Following Bossy leads you to a small dorm room with a bunk bed. After looking around for a moment, the door slams shut and locks behind you, and we're presented with these 3 choices. You can either take immediate action, be a total creep, or be a gentleman. Being considerate earns a heart, so that was probably the right choice. We check the door and decide to look for keys, and oh my goodness, does this NPC of a main character try their hardest to imitate the stereotypical boy look to the best of their ability, including lifting up pieces of transparent plastic to see what's under them. At this point, a heavy object falls on us and we die. This is accompanied by an early 2000s stick figure animation, a version of the Dark Souls "You Died" screen that looks like someone just discovered cool effects in PowerPoint, and, singing. There are different songs for different deaths, and they seem to be well-known or popular songs, and they all go on for far longer than necessary. I do get an achievement for my trouble, but I notice something that makes me pause. There's only 100 achievements. And if you get 1 per death, then either there aren't 108 deaths, or some deaths are by the same method, so don't get an achievement. Or more likely, there's a maximum of 100 achievements available until a game reaches a certain milestone on Steam in terms of its sales, and this just ain't there yet. What you've seen so far should give you a good taste for how the game actually plays, so now we're going to pick up the pace and just focus on scenes that stood out to me, starting with looking for an item while Bossy stands in the most NPC looking idle pose I've ever seen. Yeah, we haven't even left the bunk bed room yet. In this room, you find a key. Well, you can find as many keys as you want because you can replay the same scene over and over. You'll also find a remote-controlled car, which you can send in one of 3 directions. This car magically connects to your phone and magically has a camera on it for reasons. Look, it's a magical car on a magical journey. Just stop questioning it. Driving to the side allows you to find a credit card, which you wouldn't otherwise have been able to see because it only shows up on car cameras and because you were having a boy look. We swipe the card in the door and it magically opens, despite there being absolutely no technology on this door whatsoever. Look, yes, you can technically use a credit card to open certain types of locked doors, but are we really suspending disbelief so much that we're willing to believe that this dork of an MC knows how to do this? I think not. The car then acts as a Deus Ex Machina one last time by acting as a distraction for the zombies outside, allowing us to finally escape from all that awful, awful sexual tension. In a later scene, we're reunited with Spicy, and we've learned that there's a zombie virus outbreak that started in this building. Back in the bunk bedroom, Bossy got bit by a bug, so now she's infected, because as we all know, zombie viruses are only transmitted by bug bites, not zombie bites. Or maybe both if they're zombie bugs? Anyway, we know there's a cure for Bossy here, and without any context or explanation at all, we're asked to choose between two box codes, A16C9 or A15C8. I've never seen either of those codes. If you pick the wrong one, like I did, Spicy goes full anime. You should never go full anime. She uses her abilities to absolutely murder you because apparently we're throwing the laws of reality completely out the window now. She even somehow manages to change costumes multiple times during the game, often in an instant. Anyway, select the correct box and you'll find the antidote, which comes in an eyedropper bottle. But we're just in time to give it to Bossy. And hey, wait. Oh, okay, we're just gonna put it into our own mouth. Yeah, I see what's going on here. Movie logic. I love how the medicine becomes nothing more than an excuse for the main character to get a kiss, but you also force her to stand up before doing so, even though she's so weak she collapsed moments ago. Overcome with joy from being saved, which you can tell from her expression, she offers to tell you her tragic backstory, which you can completely skip, and this is actually the correct thing to do. In the final scene, we're confronted by who I assume is Patient Zero, and if we attempt to physically save Bossy, you get your wallet stolen, have a prolonged moment of enlightenment where you ponder the meaning of life, and then die. There's a foundation of humour here, but the scene drags on far too long to be funny, and the writers spoil it by making the original fake out of having your heart ripped out of your chest barehanded be the actual cause of death after all. The game ends with Bossy just vanishing from in front of us as though she were snapped out of existence. Not sure what happened to Sporty or Spicy as we suddenly find ourselves back at the original cafe, running into her all over again. We're then encouraged to explore the other two story paths to uncover the full plot and to find more deaths. While I can say that the ability to do so is fairly well implemented through a branching diagram that allows you to start from almost any scene, I feel like I've seen more than enough and end the playthrough here. "108 Silly Ways to Die" is a perfectly functional game, and if you have a high tolerance for bad acting, frustrating main characters, and awful humour, then you'll enjoy this. It might sound pretty damning on the surface, but there's a dedicated audience out there of people who absolutely, unironically, love B-movies. The average person will be able to cringe their way through the game, and it would be fun to play with an audience so that you could all laugh along at it together. Like, when something's so bad, it's so good again. But all that falls apart when you're playing solo. The dialogue choices become frustrating as the poor translations leave things up to chance, or they're written in such a way that things actually just are literally up to chance. The way conflict and tension is resolved is unsatisfying to watch, and you never feel like you understand what's happening or have any control over it. You just make choices, and sometimes you die, often in unpredictable ways. Adding on top of all that is the fact that some scenes are completely missing their translation. Sure, you can kinda piece it together from context clues, but I'm bewildered by how some scenes have the translation at the start and end, but not in the middle. How did that pass the QA checks? On the one hand, I have to give them points for creativity, as it seems like there really are 108 silly ways to die here, and far more variety than we ever saw in 101 Ways to Die. The professor could really learn a thing or two from this game. I didn't really find any of the leading women to be likeable or charming. They were always disconnected from the threat at hand and more interested in monologuing. The zombies were also underwhelming. Often they're just an off-screen threat before they vanish for plot reasons. The one time I bumped into one properly, I laughed because it was basically just a guy sitting on the floor. If it had been revealed at the end that all this was just a drug-induced psychotic event where we disturbed several homeless people in an abandoned building, I absolutely would have believed it. For a game that is meant to be equal parts comedy, romance, and horror, it somehow manages to fail at all of them, leaving me to wonder what substance there actually is here. It's technically fine, but suffers from having a plot that it seems to be trying to take seriously, but also not at the same time, leaving the player in a weird space where it feels like the game wants you to get invested, but you have zero incentive to do so. For me, this makes it hard to recommend to anyone except the most die-hard FMV fans. If this is you, at least wait to pick it up on sale. So with that in mind, my final rating for 108 Silly Ways to Die is using a credit card to open a door out of 10. We know it doesn't work like that for the average person. The game devs know it, and they're proud of it anyway. Thank you to all the Crusaders and Templar Knights for supporting the channel and making videos like this possible, especially the Noble Knights, Azazel, Daydos, Gigabread, Cutoff3, Negi Malevolent, Chef_, and the Crabs. And an extra special thank you goes to our 5 Knights of the Holy Grail: Ashley Walks, Automatistic, Gust, Freaky Feline, and Matey8. If you'd like to support the channel, check out the membership options below, or just remember to like and subscribe, that helps too. That's all for now, so if you've made it this far, here's a sneak peek of the next game. And until next time, take care.